Could Xbox do the unthinkable and go completely third party? Well, there's been a lot of chatter about that online, so let's break this all down. Up next. What up guys, this is Kalo and I'm here to give you the lowdown on all things gaming. And if you're new here, feel free to subscribe to this channel for weekly video game news content. Drop a like on the video and welcome to the Level Up. Now, before we get into today's rather hot topic, I wanted to give you this palate cleanser as it appears to be a follow-up to a story we covered earlier this week. And that's centered around Xbox's big presence at the Game Awards. Of course, as you all know, Xbox sent out this invite to its users, claiming this will be a can't-miss event. But this could range in size as far as what to expect here. Now, Xbox's Sarah Bond tweeted out a very cryptic post that just features the old Xbox 360 logo and really didn't elaborate as to what exactly that all meant. But through some digging online, people have come up with a rather wild theory that pertains to the Activision Blizzard deal. I know that's a big stretch, but bear with me, and how backwards compatibility factors into all this. They still don't have a bunch of those older Activision titles that are compatible with the Xbox Series platform, and none of those titles are on Game Pass. So they could be prepping some of those older titles like Crash and Spyro to hit Game Pass. Maybe this is the big announcement they had planned for the Game Awards. Now, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself here, but some people did say the older Call of Duties could be at play here as well. But as for now, let's just remain calm and keep those expectations low. Over the years, the focal point within the ever so great console wars between PlayStation and Xbox has been first-party games. But what if I told you we live within a world where Xbox first-party games no longer existed? Now, before we get into this statement, I want to clarify, no, I don't think this will ever truly happen, but hey, someone floated it out there. The Xbox CFO Tim Stewart, during an interview with TechRaptor, was making the rounds chatting it up about subscriptions and the Xbox console. And this is what he had to say. Quote, Microsoft is expanding its operating leverage. First party, subscriptions, and advertising are all high margin businesses that the company wants to expand into. While he's, quote, not announcing anything broadly, Stewart explains that Xbox's mission is to bring first-party experiences and subscription services to every screen that can play a game. That means smart TVs. That means mobile devices. That means what we would have thought as competitors in the past, like PlayStation and Nintendo. We're going to NVIDIA GeForce Now, their gaming subscription service. Now, reading into more of what Stewart said here, it's a very mixed message to send your fans. Now, to get down to brass taxes here, I don't think Tim Stewart is outright saying Xbox wants to go completely third party. And I don't think we'll be seeing flagship titles for Xbox like your Halos or your Starfields of the world making their way over to a PS5 or Nintendo Switch anytime soon. And quite honestly, nothing was said in that interview that hadn't been said in the last few years. Xbox, clear as day, wants Game Pass on as many platforms as possible. I mean, I'm sure they want to sell more consoles, but that's kind of second in their pecking order. They want to boost those Game Pass numbers sky high. And this is a completely different business strategy compared to Nintendo and Sony, who are really sticking to this tried and true method of first-party games and selling their consoles. I also don't buy for a minute this would be the way Xbox announces what would be some pretty monumental news. Now, there are other factors to this whole thing that people aren't really talking about. It has been widely known that Xbox already releases games on other platforms, like Call of Duty and Minecraft. Now, the other half of this conversation that really isn't talked about enough here, and that's Xbox Game Pass. Now, this right here. This is where I start to see things getting more interesting for Xbox. Especially when in the past, Phil Spencer has been pretty vocal on getting the Game Pass service on as many devices as humanly possible. Phil Spencer even had this to say about Game Pass directly after their big Bethesda acquisition. Quote, if you're an Xbox customer, the thing I want you to know, this is about delivering great exclusive games for you that ship on platforms where Game Pass exists. There you go, straight from the horse's mouth. Now, this is why I'm not holding my breath in hopes that Xbox games like Halo start appearing on other platforms. Mainly because the bulk of Xbox's big titles will not be going to devices or even platforms where Game Pass doesn't exist. I also think companies like PlayStation or Nintendo for that matter really wouldn't want a Game Pass app on their devices, mainly because it'll take away not only from their console, but what their own subscription services have to offer. And at the end of the day, console exclusives are what drive sales for consoles, and the subscription service that they're paired with. In this case for Xbox, over recent years they've invested a lot of time, a lot of money, especially effort, to really bolster their platforms across the board. And that's all to get your hard-earned dollar. Also, all of these big acquisitions that Xbox has made over the past few years is very much a long-term play. And that's what people seem to forget. Before even floating the idea out there to go third party, we need to see the fruits these deals have to bear over time. I mean, just this year, we're starting to see the ripple effect from the Bethesda merger, with games like Starfield and Hi-Fi Rush. Let's not forget Hellblade 2 is coming out next year along with Avowed, and of course, Perfect Dark. Seeing how those games perform, and if those games help bring people into the Xbox ecosystem, will be really telling about the future of Xbox. So to kind of wrap this up in a nice neat little bow, no, Xbox will not be going third party. Again, I think this is more of a Game Pass conversation. And finally, we need to see the games and how they're performing moving forward. And that's all before we can even have the conversation about Xbox going third party. But with all that being said, I'm gonna pass this question off to you guys. Do you really see Xbox going third party? Or if you're like me, do you see them pushing Game Pass on places we never thought we'd actually see it? But that about does it here. I've been Kalo. I gave you the lowdown on all things gaming. And if you're new here, feel free to subscribe to this channel for weekly video game news content. Drop a like on the video, and this has been the Level Up.